Welcome back, everybody. It's Zach here, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. And this one, it'll be a fun one for me. It's one I do every year. I'm going to be giving you guys 5 hot takes I have for the 2025 fantasy football season. These are takes that are obviously pretty contradictory to what the consensus is across the industry. But I think that I actually believe have a really high likelihood of happening. Other things that I would certainly make bets on in terms of my fantasy draft, like all the players that I'm picking here, I'm either strongly avoiding or strongly targeting based off of where I'm expecting them to finish relative to consensus. And it's just sort of fun to do these. I like to just keep a log of what I've done here and just see how accurate these end up being. And overall, I feel like I've done a pretty good job with these. Obviously, these should have incredibly low hit rates. Like if even 1 or 2 of these 5 hit, like it's actually going to make a really big difference for your fantasy team if you followed it. So I'm really excited about this. If you guys have any hot takes of your own, let me know in the comments below. Any disagreements, agreements, just let me know in the comments. It's a lot of fun interacting with you guys there, and should be a lot of fun. So let's get into it. You guys probably knew he was going to make this video, but my first hot take here is going to be that Jaylen Warren finishes the season as a top 4 tight end at the position. He's currently being drafted with the tight end 12 off the board, so that's clearly way lower than I think he can actually finish this season. We already got a glimpse in terms of just how athletic and how great he can be in week 1 of the preseason. He finished with 40 receiving yards, having played basically like a quarter of the game. He's a legit weapon, right? He's going to be legitimately the best pass catcher that the Colts have had in years. He should lead the team in targets for sure. And I wanted to say he could finish the top 3 tight end, but I think the only way that happens is if Kittle, McBride, or Bowers get hurt. And I don't want to predict an injury like that, but I think he can crack into that top 4 and maybe even be right along with those guys. Daniel Jones himself also didn't look all that bad in week 1 of the preseason. We did see Anthony Richardson play a little bit and then get banged up, dislocated his pinky. Honestly, Daniel Jones probably provides a safer floor for Jaylen Warren than what Richardson would have offered anyway, so I think that's totally okay. You don't need elite quarterback play. I think these elite players can sort of find their way towards being immune at the position to anything else around them, and especially at the tight end position, that's very possible, where you don't need like a 1,300 receiving yard season for Warren to be great. If he finishes with 800 receiving yards, 90 catches, and 7 touchdowns, that's a monster season for a tight end, even though for a wide receiver, that would be like a mid-tier wide receiver 2 level performance. So I think Warren can go out there and put up some monster numbers this season. I'm really stoked about him, and he is pretty much my primary target at the tight end spot if I miss out on one of those top 3 guys. Another player you guys probably knew I was going to talk about if you've been following the channel, but my second hot take here is going to be that George Pickens finishes as a top 12 wide receiver this season. I really just can't quit him this year. I'm just super stoked about the pairing of him and Dak Prescott along with CeeDee Lamb in this offense. We know that he's an elite deep threat, and now he's finally on a great offense with a horrendous defense, right? We don't expect this Cowboys team to have a very good defense in general. Now you've got a Micah Parsons holdout. If he leaves, this defense takes a massive hit. They'll have no pass rush and no secondary. This could be this year's version of the Bengals, right? You've got a team with 2 really great wide receivers, a good passing quarterback, and then a bad defense. You could have this team finish 7-10 and score 30 points per game. So I think George Pickens can absolutely be a monster for us this season. We've seen him put up an 1,100-yard season in a year where he didn't even have a quarterback. That was with Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett. We saw a really solid stretch last season with him and Russell Wilson being hyper-targeted as a deep threat prior to him going down with injury and missing a few games. But it seemed like that breakout for Pickens was finally happening, and we know the talent is there. And this season, you're finding him in a situation where this is a legitimate path towards 600 pass attempts for Dallas. We're going to see Pickens in an offense with a career high in targets, the best quarterback play of his career, and the softest coverage, right? Like CeeDee Lamb's going to take all the safety help over the top. It's going to make George Pickens just an absolutely lethal deep threat for them. I'm super stoked. I think Pickens can absolutely be a top 12 guy. Probably going to be a little bit of a bumpier ride there, right? You're going to have a lot of boom bust weeks. You'll probably get 4 for 150 and a touchdown one week, and then 2 for 60 the next week. But I think there's going to be a really great stretch here for the George Pickens this season. I want him in almost every league. He's the wide receiver 29 off boards. That's fantastic. I'm going to take him every time he's there. Next, my third hot take here is going to be that Jaylen Waddle will outscore Tyreek Hill in fantasy this season. The vibes around Tyreek Hill are just bad right now. He wanted to leave the team at the end of last season. You sort of saw him quit on them at the end of the last year. He's had some off-season legal issues. Granted, that's been the case with Tyreek Hill his entire career, but he's not exactly been a model citizen since the offseason. He's also dealing with an oblique injury. Just all the vibes in there and between him and Miami. I don't even know if he wants to be there. He's 32 now. We're seeing him come off the worst season of his career by far. He played more snaps than he did the year before and finished with 900 less receiving yards. That's a very significant drop-off for Tyreek. He just did not look like the same player by any means. I know people want to point towards the wrist injury for Tyreek, but the wrist injury shouldn't make you worse at running routes. Tyreek just did not look like Tyreek. Even when they gave him screen passes and stuff, he didn't break tackles or make guys miss the way he used to. He just did not look like the same Tyreek Hill at all. And Jaylen Waddle is still in the prime of his career. Tyreek is near the end of his. And there's a 3-round difference between the two as well, right? So I think Jaylen Waddle's got just as much upside, if not more, than Tyreek, because I think it's a fair assumption to say that Jaylen Waddle's probably the better player at this point. You also saw them get rid of Jonnu Smith this offseason, so they're going to have to really hyper-target the wide receiver position again. I think Waddle's in line for a massive year, and I'm pretty out on Tyreek Hill just because I don't see a world where it's really rare that we see old players have a bad year and then bounce back the following. Typically, if you have an aging player have a bad year, it's kind of a good bet to be out on them because the odds of them bouncing back and being good the next year, not very high, and I'm just not going to bet on that. I'm going to take the young superstar over the aged veteran pretty much every day there. On to my fourth hot take of the season. I think that Bree Hall is going to finish this season outside the top 20 at the running back position. That's obviously a huge fall from grace from where he was just 2 seasons ago, finishing as the running back 2 in fantasy. Currently being drafted as the running back 13, so clearly people are not out on him entirely. But I just really don't get the ADP this year on Bree Hall. Fantasy football doesn't need to be hard sometimes. I think sometimes you can just sit back and just really surface level analyze some things, and you come up with some pretty good answers for things. So one thing I'll just like to do is just, all right, what are the 2 best ways you can score fantasy points? I think it's pretty clear that those 2, especially in a PPR format, are going to be touchdowns and catching passes, right? So any player you want to be good in fantasy, you're going to need to be either scoring a lot of touchdowns or catching a lot of passes. The Jets as a whole had 4 carries inside the 5-yard line in 2024. I don't know how that's possible. You'd think you would get to inside the 5-yard line on occasion, but they didn't, and I guess the couple times they did, they threw the ball in. So you had 4 opportunities over the course of the entire season for Bree Hall to get a short yardage rushing touchdown. Now you've got Justin Fields there, a legitimate threat to steal rushing touchdowns when they get close. And Braylon Allen, also there, competing, basically, the coaching staff saying it's going to be a timeshare. You've got Braylon Allen, the bigger back. He can certainly get the goal line roll. So I think the odds of Bree Hall scoring a large number of touchdowns pretty low this season. On top of that, you got Justin Fields there, who's a mobile quarterback. Mobile quarterbacks do not target the running back position. This also just isn't going to be a team that's going to throw the ball a lot. So you're going to have a small target share to the running back position from a small pie in terms of the number of pass attempts. So really, you're looking at a situation where Bree Hall is not going to score touchdowns. He's not going to catch passes. So the only way he's actually going to be good for fantasy is if he rips off a bunch of 50-yard touchdowns. And that's really unpredictable. I know Bree Hall is an explosive player. He could certainly do that a couple times this year, but the odds of him doing that enough to sustain reliable fantasy success, if you don't get that 50-yard touchdown, it's going to be a bad week for Brees. So I'm not betting on it at all. I have little exposure to Brees, and I really don't think you guys should too at his current price. And the 5th and final hot take here, and maybe this one's not hot enough, but I think Jaylen Warren is going to outscore Caleb Johnson in fantasy this season. Let's face it, the Steelers are all in this year. They traded for Jalen Ramsey. They traded for DK Metcalf. They signed Aaron Rodgers. You've got a lot of expiring assets there. I know DK is not old, but between Rodgers and Jalen Ramsey, this is probably near the end of the road for those guys. Rodgers himself said this is probably going to be his last season. They're clearly making a run at a Super Bowl. You've got TJ Watt getting older, Cam Hayward getting older. This is not a team that can really be playing for the future because most of their good players are at least on the back half of their career. So the Steelers certainly want to be playing the player that they believe gives them the best chance to win. And Jaylen Warren's a legitimate running back. He's been extremely efficient throughout the course of his career. He's elite in the passing game, which I think is going to be the primary reason he plays a lot this year. We knew this coming out of college, but reportedly Caleb Johnson is struggling immensely in pass protection and training camp right now. And when you pair that with a statue in Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, who also loves to hyper-target the running back, there's just no way a running back that's not good in pass protection is going to see the vast majority of snaps. The way I see it, Jaylen Warren is going to be the clear pass-catching back and is also going to be given a good amount of rushing share as well. You don't want to just sort of tip your hand, and I feel like the Steelers right now would be telling defenses they're running the ball every time they have Caleb Johnson on the field. I think that right now Jaylen Warren is an incredibly athletic player, extremely efficient on a team that wants to run the ball a ton and is probably going to hyper-target the running back position whenever they do throw the ball. I think Jaylen Warren could certainly finish this year with 70, 80 targets, along with 150 to 200 carries. Could easily put up over 1,000 all-purpose yards. Can catch a lot of passes. I think Jaylen Warren's going to be a really valuable asset in fantasy this season, and I think we might be waiting a year for Caleb Johnson this year. So I don't like the ADP. I think they're a little bit flipped. I think Caleb Johnson just, he's more exciting because he's a rookie, but we've seen Jaylen Warren be good in the NFL before. We haven't seen that out of Caleb Johnson. I'm going to take Warren over Caleb Johnson all year this year. So that'll do it for my 5 hot takes heading into the 2025 season. Up next video will be a preseason week 1 recap. I'll just go through all of the important news. I'm not going to try and dive too deep into like third stringers and stuff that aren't necessarily going to be relevant, but anything that I think is going to move the needle for us in terms of where we should be drafting players, I'll make sure I relay that information to you guys. So stay tuned for that video. That one will probably come out Tuesday or Wednesday next week. Maybe probably Tuesday. I'll make sure it comes out Tuesday. Other notes, the subscriber league, I'm looking to schedule the draft here. We'll probably be getting the draft scheduled for like the Saturday of Labor Day weekend, so I think that'll be like August 30th. Got a couple spots left, so if you're interested, let me know in the comments below. I got to get the group chat and everything set up there, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So I had a lot of fun with it last year, and if you guys are interested, let me know. The comments should be a lot of fun there. If you haven't already, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. There's going to be a ton of content all off season and all regular season long. I think we'll win some leagues together if you guys subscribe and stick around. So it should be a lot of fun, and really hope you guys do that. And then, of course, if you haven't already, if you made it this far in the video, just give it a thumbs up. It helps me out quite a bit. It helps me know that I'm doing a good job. So yeah, I appreciate you guys. It's been a lot of fun. We got a lot more coming. I'll catch you with the next one. Peace. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.